Hello students, look at this question. In this question, the data is given that you have $126,000 which you can invest in two stocks, stock X and stock Y, and a risk-free asset. And also the other thing is given is that the target return of the portfolio should be 12%, and the beta of the portfolio, means the market risk of the portfolio, should be 76% of the risk of the overall market. So the risk of the overall market is 1, beta is 1 of the market portfolio. So if it is mentioned that the risk of your portfolio should be 76% of the market, it means that the 76% of 1, which is 0.76. So 0.76 should be the beta of your portfolio. And then in order to find the target expected return of the portfolio, first you need to know what is the expected return of the individual assets present inside the portfolio. And also you also should know, in order to solve this question, that what are the risk or market risk of the individual assets present inside the portfolio. Because the question is this, that what should be your weight, what should be the weight of the stocks, how much you should invest in stock Y if you want to get the expected return of the portfolio as 12%. So the second half is mentioning that if X has an expected return of 24% and a beta of 1.6, and Y has an expected return of 18% and a beta of 1.6, and the risk free rate is 6%, how much money you should invest in stock Y out of this $126,000? So in other words, what should be the weight of the portfolio or investment of your portfolio? What percentage of the your portfolio should be invested in stock Y? So this is the question. So in order to move forward, we need to first write down two equations. First, we will talk about the equation of the expected return of the portfolio. So expected return of the portfolio is the weighted average of the return or expected return of the assets present inside the portfolio. So weight of stock X multiplied by the expected return of stock X plus weight of stock Y multiplied by the expected return of stock Y plus the weight of the third asset, which is in this case risk-free asset. It can be any asset, it can be bond, it can be any third stock. So expected weight of the risk-free asset multiplied by the expected return of the risk-free asset, right? And the weight of the risk-free asset, we can rewrite it as 1 minus WX minus WY. So whatever is not invested in stock X and stock Y, the leftover is invested in the risk-free rate. So it implies that. Now if you plug in the values, we know that the target expected return of the portfolio is this one, 0.12, and it should be equal to, now we will plug in the number, expected return of the stock X is 24, so we are 24%. So in decimals we can write as 0.24. So 24%, if you divide 24 with 100, you will get the number in decimals. So 0.24 into the WX. So doesn't matter if I'll multiply WX with 24% or 24% with WX, the answer should be the same of this product. So then plus 0.18, which is the expected return of the stock Y, into the weight of stock Y plus the expected return of risk-free asset, which is 6% in this case, into the weight of risk-free asset, which we can rewrite as 1 minus WX minus WY. Now if you will expand this equation and solve it, you will get this equation as 0.12 is equal to 0.18 wx plus 0.12 wy plus 0.06. And if you further solve it, you will end up getting 0.06 is equal to 0.18 wx plus 0.12 wy. So we can rename it as equation 1. So this is our equation 1. So we simplified this equation 1 over here. Now look, if we want to find wx and wy, we have to eliminate, in this case first we have to find the wy actually. How much money out of 126,000 we need to invest in stock y, means weight of stock y. How much percentage of the portfolio is invested in stock y? So we want to find this wy. In order to get that, we have to like eliminate this wx, and we can do it if we have another equation, and we should be able to simultaneously solve this system of equation where we will be able to cancel the wx, so that we should only left by wy. So the beta of the portfolio, which is the market risk of the portfolio, we can rewrite as wx into the beta of stock x plus weight in stock y multiplied by the market risk of stock y plus the weight of risk-free asset multiplied by the beta of risk-free asset. So in other words, that the market risk of the portfolio is the weighted average of the market risk of the assets present inside the portfolio. This is we should know that this is how we calculate the beta of a portfolio. Now, what is the beta of the portfolio? The target beta of the portfolio is 76% of the overall market risk. In other words, 0.76, because the market risk is 1. So 76% of 1 is 0.76. So 0.76 is the target market risk of this portfolio. So 0.76, and this is given in the question, right? So 0.76 is equal to 1.6, which is the beta of stock x, into the weight of stock x plus 1.6 into the weight of stock y. 1.6 is also the beta of stock y. So both are equally risky stocks to invest in, because their market risk is same, 1.6. Beta is the same for both of them. And remember, beta is the number, it is not in terms of percentage. Plus 0. Why 0? Because the beta of the risk-free rate is 0. Does not matter how much your market moves up and down, the risk-free asset return will remain the same. It will not go up or down, right? So it is not sensitive to the change in the return of the market index. So this is 0. It does not depend on the return. The return of the risk-free asset does not depend on the return of the market portfolio. So that's why this beta is 0. And if it is 0, whatever is the weight in risk-free asset, this 0 multiplied by this will give you 0 over here. So this is your equation 2. Now we have two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. And if we will be able to solve them simultaneously, we will be able to find easily the weight of y, and thus we will be able to know that what should be the investment in our in our out of $126,000 in this case, because this is the question, how much percent of that 126,000 we should be able to invest in stock y, so that our target expected return should be of the portfolio should be 12%. So this is the thing, right? So in order to do that, we have to convert this to 1.6. Why? Because once it is 1.6, we can simply subtract the one equation from another and eliminate wx. Some people do it with substitution, and this is an elimination method. Like mathematically, for me, it's much more easy to use the elimination method. For any other student, it can be substitution method, because they might have been using substitution very easily. But for me, for some reason, elimination method for solving the system of equation is very intuitive and very easy. So I'm using that. But whatever way you can use, if you know the mathematics, you know the algebra, you can easily solve it. So what I'm doing, I am converting this equation in such a way that here I should get 1.6. And how can I do that? If I multiply equation 1, both sides of the equation 1 by 8.889, I will be able to convert this wx into 1.6 wx. And how did I know it? I simply divided this 1.6 with 0.18 and I got 8.888889, but I'm rounding them off to the 4 decimal spaces, which is rounding them off to the 4 decimals, which is fine in this case. And why I'm doing it again, the reason is this: I want to eliminate it. You can double check it by again dividing this 1.6 with 0.18 and you will also get 8.88889. I'm doing it right now. Just double check my answer as well. 0.18. Yes, it's 8.88889, which I'm rounding them to the 4 decimal places. So once I multiply both sides with 8.8889, so this will be multiplied with 8.889 and I will be able to get this 0.5333, right? So just multiply this, pause the video over here right now and multiply this with 0.06, again this with 0.18 and again 8.8889 with 0.12. You'll be able to get this equation, this one, which I'm just I have just bolded over here, right? So this, once you will get, you simply subtract this equation from the equation number 2, right? So if you subtract the 0.533 from 0.76, you'll end up getting, this is the subtraction sign over here, right? So you'll get 0.2267 is equal to, this will cancel out because 1.6 wx minus 1.6 wx will generate 0, and over here 1.6 wy minus 1.066 will generate plus 0.5334, and if you rearrange it, you will end up getting that wy is equal to 0.425. In other words, 42.5% should be invested in the stock Y out of 126,000. If you multiply this now 42.5% with 126,000, you will end up getting 53,550. And this is the question. This was the question which we have answered. How much money we will invest in stock Y in such a way that our expected return of the portfolio should be 12%, and this should we invest in stock Y 53,550. Now can we find the weight in stock X? Yeah, that's very easy. We can simply put this number, which is 0.425, in equation 2, and this wy we have already found, which is 42.5%. If we plug this number over here, we'll end up getting wx. So over here you can see that over here wx is 0.05, means, so I plug this number over here, means, and I am able to get the wx, which is the weight in stock X, which is 5%. And now we can easily find the weight in risk-free asset. Remember, whatever is not invested in stock X and stock Y, that is invested in the stock, in the risk-free asset, right? So 1 minus 5%, which is the weight in stock X, 5% of your funds you invested in stock X, minus 42.5%, which is you basically invested in the in the stock Y, you end up getting 52.5%, right? This is written in decimals, but if you convert this decimal into percentage by multiplying with 100, you will get 52.5%. So now always double check your answer, that whether all these weights which we have which you have calculated, are they correct or not. And you can simply do it by plugging these weights in the expected return equation of the portfolio. So what was the target expected return that was of the portfolio? That was 12%. And what is the expected return of a portfolio? It is the weighted average of the expected return of the individual assets present inside the portfolio. So 5%, which is the weight of stock X, which we have calculated, multiply by the 24% of stock X, expected return of stock X, this one over here, plus 42.5% weight of stock Y into the expected return of the stock Y. So what was the expected return of the stock Y? 18%, plus the weight in the risk-free asset, which we have calculated over here, 52.5%, multiply by the 6%. So if you solve this equation, you will end up getting 12%. And this was the target return. If this will not become equal to 12%, it means that your weight calculation is wrong, right? And there is some mistake you have done. So always double check with by plugging in the weights which you have calculated in the expected return equation of the portfolio. So this will confirm that my answer is fine. Now again, things to remember in order to solve these type of question is this, that always ensure that the sum of all the weights is equal to 1. So if you add up 42.425 plus 0.05 plus 525, it should be equal to 1, right? So double check it over here. I can clearly see, and it is equal to 1, right? Double check these weights which I just mentioned by plugging them in the expected return equation of the portfolio. Now say if the expected return for the same question, you can check that if the expected return if in this question, if it would have been mentioned that rather the expected return of the portfolio being a 12%, if it is 8.1%, then what would be the weight? I have already done the calculation separately. You can double check it. But I found that in that case, the weight of stock X should be minus 0.25. The weight of stock Y is 0.55. The weight in the risk-free return is 0.7. If you add all of them, it will again be equal to 1. So let me show it over here. So these are the weights, right? Minus 0.25 plus 0.55 plus 0.7. So you see, if you add them together, it's over here. The sum is equal to 1, right? But what does it mean by minus? Because there might be some questions which you will get where the weight of will come in negative. So this means that you have borrowed the funds which is 25% of your available of your 126,000 at a higher rate, which is in this case 24%. Doesn't make sense, but mathematically it is possible, right? So why one will borrow at a high rate of 24% and then invest in stock Y, which is giving simply 18%, and the risk-free asset which is simply giving 6%. One should not, or one must not do it. Any prudent investor will not do it. But mathematically, you might encounter such question where if you have to find the weight can end up getting negative. So this is the only point to mention over here. It's mathematically possible, but as an investor, you will not go over there. So it will be an inefficient portfolio for you. So it does not make sense, but it is mathematically possible. right? So net investment will still remain 126,000, means that after paying the borrowed amount, your actual amount is just 126,000, but the overall available fund in that case is 126,000, your overall funds, plus which you have borrowed 31,500. So now you have availability of 157,500, which you will invest in only stock Y and risk-free asset. And stock Y, we know it was giving us just 18%, and risk-free rate was giving us 6%, and we are borrowing at 24%. Doesn't make sense. Again, no prudent investor will do it, but mathematically for these questions it is possible. So if you end up getting any negative weight, that is possible. Do not get scared. The main point is this, that if you add up all the weights, it should be equal to 1. Number 2, once you plug in the weights in the expected return equation of the portfolio, then you should get the target expected return. So I double check these numbers over here with these weights, right? So these weights I just plugged in over here, these weights, right? And this was the expected return of the stock X, this one was Y, and this was for risk-free rate of return. And if you see with the, I have already formula over here written, and I was able to get my 8.1% expected return again, if this was my target return, right? So this is how you will be able to solve these sort of questions, and I hope that it will help you understanding these questions in a better way. Thank you.